Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Texas State Asian Culture Museum. If you're just joining with us for the first time on these distance learning videos, I am the historian Nick. It's great to see y'all. Hope y'all are enjoying the nice weather we're having. I know the storms lately have kind of knocked everyone off their feet a little bit here and there, but today is a beautiful Friday. Today's distance learning video is going to be one of good interest for all of us here at the museum, and of course for you guys too. It is a topic everyone can know about. Not everyone does have the means to know about. Of course, it's simple Google research. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the life and teachings of the one and only Buddha. But first, just a reminder, we are open Thursday through Saturday, 12 to 5. We are following COVID protocol, so please, we encourage the use of a mask. If you do not have a mask, it's okay. We do have some here for sale, very cheaply I might add, unlike other places. But please, do come in at your convenience and leisure. We have things to show you, talk to you about. We can show you weapons and everything else, talk to you more about certain artifacts and figures. So please, come in, see us, and I hope you enjoy this distance learning video on Buddha. It is going to be fun, I believe, for Richard and I to talk about this with you guys. So without further ado, here's Richard.
Alrighty, so this part of our journey is going to take us to what is now the area known as Nepal. And what we're going to be talking about is the Prince, mainly talking about, is the Prince Siddhartha Gautama. He is the founder of Buddhism and the prince who would be known as Buddha. Now, a little bit about the social and economic area at the time would be a little bit helpful to know. It's the year 560 BCE, and without turning this into a very long and potentially very boring book report, India is composed, this part of India, near the Ganges River, is composed of what's basically a group of city-states, not dissimilar to what you'd see in ancient Greece or Renaissance Italy, called Majapahanatas, with ruling families at the top, and there's 16 of them that are big and powerful and well recorded, even 2,500 years later. And the Prince, Siddhartha, is a prince, hence the term prince, in one of those ruling families of one of the larger Majapahanatas. And he's bored. There's many different accounts, many different versions of the story. Some of them are embellished one way or the other. But what they all agree on is that he is bored. And so he goes out into the public, goes out and sees the people, lives among the people a little bit, and he comes to the conclusion that human suffering is bad. He's seeing the common man, as the common man would in the year 560 BC, dying of plagues and running out of food and being poor and being unhappy. He realizes this isn't a good thing, and so he tries to discover the secret to happiness, the secret to human suffering, so he can stop the human suffering, or at least slow it down a little. And he begins to live as an ascetic monk, which is a very severely disciplined and self-disciplined type of monk that was around at the time. And he spends, again, variations in the story, about 6 years doing this. And he lives with the ascetic monks, and he learns their ways. And after a few years, he comes to the conclusion that this ain't getting him anywhere either. He's doing all this work, he's doing all this self-discipline, and he's not learning anything from it, really. And he's not fixing anybody else's life. So, one day, he quits. Decides this isn't working, and goes and meditates by himself under a tree for, again, variations on the story, several days. Probably hallucinates, because he goes so long without eating. Communicates with the universe itself, comes back out, and declares himself to be the fully enlightened one, and is declared by most of his friends because he appears to have the secrets of nirvana and happiness. And the fully enlightened one, as would translate from the language at the time, would mean Buddha. So that's what he does. And it gains popularity and it gains some traction for the next couple hundred years. When it really takes off, when Buddhism really takes off in India, is under the reign of the great Prince Ashoka. He is about the year 200 BCE. And there's a lot of variations on his story at the time. But what they all agree on, with the Great Prince, is two facts. Number one, he was kind of an unpleasant dude to start. He basically took over all of the Ganges and Indus River Valley areas, filling up a pretty good-sized empire and steamrolling the other Majapahanadas. And two, he became a much nicer guy after he did that. The story mostly goes that he became a Buddhist believer, devout Buddhist believer, and a fairly nice guy, all in some succession after about 5 to 10 years of being the king, being the regent of the entire area, the ruler of the area. And it was probably, at least in part, a response to his guilt over steamrolling all the area and killing a lot of people in bloody conquest. And so the Prince Ashoka falls all in for Buddhism, probably at his nephew's behest, and starts sending Buddhist emissaries, envoys, and monks everywhere. He sends them south, down to Sri Lanka, and pretty far out into the Indian Ocean to other islands. He sends them west, all the way to Hellenic Greece. It's actually where some of our recordings come from, is the Greeks interacting with him. And he sends them to the east into China, where it becomes the official religion for a little while. And that is where our story goes back to Nick, so I'm going to give it back to him.
And thank you, Richard, for the information on what would be the traditional, original version of Buddha. Now onto the depiction of Buddha that everyone has pretty much just known. It's more common. The Buddhism religion was introduced in China in the first early century during the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty took place between 206 BC to 220 AD. There might have been record of earlier introductions, but there was no way of knowing because during the Qin Dynasty, Emperor Qin wanted his own religion and decided that any religion that wasn't his was to be banned and illegal, and he destroyed all these artifacts, statues, documentations of other religions. So Buddhism could have been in China earlier than the first century, but like I said, during that time there was no way to tell. But here we are now with this version of Buddhism. Buddhism is actually China's most oldest foreign religions, which is pretty awesome and neat considering China's history itself. With how long it is. Traditionally, Chinese are Taoists. Taoism is living in harmony with life, while the Buddhism that's in China is known as Mahayana Buddhism. That is being able to achieve enlightenment during one lifetime, while traditional Buddhists from India believe that it takes several lifetimes to achieve enlightenment or nirvana. A key difference between Chinese Buddhism and the original one is that while Indians revered Buddha as a teacher, philosopher who had followers, the Chinese believed him to be a god who should be prayed to for help and for everything else in life, which is pretty cool. You know, what's cool in seeing is that how a region can take something new and incorporate it into what they've already been practicing, such as Taoism and Buddhism for China, and that's just pretty neat. With Taoists, like I said, you pray to gods. You have several ones. You pay homage to your ancestors in China and the other Asian territories, and that's just to have them help you in your life, you know, so they can help you, guide you, and be there for you, and everything. So it's pretty neat. So the greatest and most obvious difference between traditional Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism is the depiction of Buddha. The statue that you saw over there is more or less the original traditional version of Buddha himself. The one we have here, well, he's basically skinny, just like me. And the one we have here is the one for China known as Budai Buddhism, or Budai, just Buddha. And that's happy, laughing, you know, carefree looking Buddha, which is the one you'd see just about pretty much everywhere. There was also another version of Buddha who made him look like pretty much like a Greek god. So he's just, you know, being a muscular. So it's pretty cool. But this is the one China's going to go with. And Chinese Buddhists, their goal in life is just to be happy. It's pretty much their lifeline goal. That's pretty much it. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this distance learning video. I would like to emphasize that if there's any topic for the Asian territories you'd like for us to cover in one of these videos, feel free to comment on our links when we post them on social media, or feel free to message us. We'll get back to you, and we'll love to hear your interest, your comments and everything. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. We look forward to seeing you here at the museum. Thank you very much.